Okay, hello. This is a continuation of my summary of my analysis on how the USA is starting a new Cold War with Russia. All right, and we've been focusing on the Industrial Revolution and its impact upon the profitability of war. Okay, and to understand the Industrial Revolution, we broke it up into 8 stages. We covered the first stage already, which is machine manufacture of textiles. Second stage is the use of machines in agriculture, followed by use of machines in printing, which allowed for the rise of mass media, which allowed for the rise of propaganda, first used in patriotism and then in communist propaganda. And then the third stage was application of steam engines to power machines, right? And also to power vehicles for mechanized transportation, starting with steam trains and steamboats, right? And this allowing for an upstream integration in allowing for expansion of colonialism, and this leading to intense colonial competition, which became a factor in leading to wars. Stage four is the machine manufacture of weapons and resulting in the American system and making possible the military industrial complex. However, the military industrial complex did not form until World War One in the United States. Right. The first application of machine manufactured weapons was the Civil War, but the key impact of the Civil War was actually in Western expansion. Uh, the Civil War unleashed Western expansion economics, right, due to legislation made possible with the cessation of the southern states, right? The northern states rushed to pass their economic agenda and not free the slaves until the last hour. And Western expansion economics was essentially the same as European colonial expansion economics. In both cases, you had industrial growth supported by increasing access to raw materials, either in colonies or in the United States West, right? And also increasing market for distribution of goods. Okay, then the fifth stage of the Industrial Revolution was not really an economic engine until the 20th century. All right. It's often cited in the 19th century because that's when things were invented. Steel production, chemical industry got its start I mean, you can go further back than the 19th century, but you could say chemical industry kind of got it going in the 19th century, but it really didn't pick up until the 20th century. Uh, Oil, internal combustion engines, automobile, electricity, telephone, radio. None of these became viable markets into the 20th century, substantial markets into the 20th century. All right. And we said colonial competition got heated, and that was a big factor in World War One. The quest for empire, expansion of empire, expansion of trade, expansion of commerce, right? One nation set against each other, competing against each other, and this being the basis of wealth generation, and wealth generation being the basis of military force, which then led to security issues, security concerns, right? Which helped fuel that race for economic and colonial expansion. All right. So World War One pulled the U.S. economy out of the Great Depression, but a big impact of World War One was the formation of the military-industrial complex. Right? I explained that to you with the diagram. Let's see here. I can pull it up real quick. What do I got here? Yeah, this diagram here. All right, how it is dominated by bonesmen, right? And these guys are the guys who are starting our wars in the 20th century. Uh, People are going to say, well, no, Al Qaeda attacked us on 9/11. They started. Well, yeah, but we started the first Gulf War. All right. And people can say, no, Saddam Hussein started that. I taught you how Saddam Hussein was basically suckered into this war, right? Um, I, I can't teach it all again right now, right? All right. So yeah, I know the simple-minded who haven't retained anything that I've taught will attack these things, right? Right. Uh, right. Uh, okay. All right. And they profit off these wars, right? The key profits goes to these companies. All right. Let me just give you an example. First Gulf War, right off the top of my head. Director of CIA, William Webster, meets with the Kuwaiti general in charge of their security. That's their defense forces, right? And convinces him that uh, Kuwait must apply pressure, economic pressure, on Iraq in order to leverage them into coming to agreement upon the disputed border between Kuwait and Iraq. The border is disputed, right? So the pressure was overproduction of oil to drive down price, right? U.S. is promoting that. U.S. is encouraging Kuwait to do that. U.S. is saying we got your back, right? Then, starting in May, June of 1990, Saddam Hussein starts spouting off in the press 3 times, and N29z1 one time. So it's 4 statements by top government officials that if they don't stop overproducing, they're going to get a war. Right? They're threatening Kuwait clearly, right? And then Saddam Hussein places 100,000 troops with armored vehicles, tank battalions, on the Kuwaiti border. All sorts of tanks, all sorts of artillery, all sorts of infantry, 100,000 troops. That's 10 army divisions. That's an invasion force on the Kuwaiti border, right? Next day, who was it? Margaret Tutwiler, the State Department spokesperson, under direction of Baker, Secretary of State James Baker, right, comes out with an unsolicited statement after they put 100,000 troops on the border. We have no defense treaty with Kuwait, nor do we have any defense or security commitment to Kuwait. Well, why the hell would you say that at any time? Why would you come out and say that? Anytime. Let alone after Saddam makes 3 threats, N29z makes a threat to attack Iraq. They put 100,000 troops on the border. And then you say this? That's open invitation. It says, come on in. And then April Glaspie, very next day, confirms, meets directly with Saddam Hussein. Saddam Hussein calls her in. April Glaspie is a U.S. ambassador to Iraq. Saddam Hussein says, what the hell's going on here? What'd she just say? So, Tutwiler, so he calls in April Glaspie. And she says, in regards to Arab border disputes, U.S. has no opinion. In fact, James Baker, the Secretary of State, instructed our spokesperson to say so, which she did. And a couple of days after that, Assistant Secretary of State Kelly basically said the same thing as Tutwiler. We have no defense treaty with Kuwait, nor do we have any defense or security commitment to Kuwait. And then Congressman Hamilton asked him, so you mean to say if Iraq rushes across the border and invades Kuwait, we have no obligation to do anything whatsoever? And Kelly says, that is correct, sir. That's 3 green light signals. Don't tell me that's not a sucker move. Don't tell me we didn't create the motive to piss off Saddam. And then we opened it, then we green lighted his attack. That's an exact opposite of what you do. What did Eisenhower do when the Chinese threatened to take those islands off of the Taiwanese islands off to the China coast, like Kwai and the Matsu Islands, whatever? He said, "We're going to nuke you." You stand firm. You don't give green light signals. They did the opposite of what you should do. Now that's absolutely proven. All right. And then the first Gulf War was the basis of 5 of bin Laden's 6 motives for attacking us in 9/11. 5 of the 6 motives. So the first Gulf War gave us the war on terror. One of which was the first Gulf War resulting in sanctions upon Iraq, which led to the death of 567,000 Iraqi kids. Right? That's over 500,000. That's one of the things that pissed off bin Laden. All right. So he attacks us. I know that idiot liars are going to attack. Once they remember nothing, they'll attack. All right. So these guys are the military-industrial complex. They control government. They control all the government contracts for military, right? They make big profits off of war. Yeah, I know, right? You can't touch Vietnam. You can't touch Gulf War II here. I bet you they attack these here. All right. So, let's see here. 13. Then you had the Great Depression, 1929, 1940. And the only thing that could pull us out of the Great Depression was World War II. But with the close of World War II, our economy was sliding fast back into recession, if not depression again, right? It was hoped that the 6th stage of the Industrial Revolution would sustain our economy. We could transition from war production to production of mass amount of consumer goods. But this wasn't enough, and our economy was contracting. And then the Cold War started, right, which helped stop the slide into depression, right? Now, the 7th stage of the Industrial Revolution is the rise of the service sector. So before I show you this graph, we'll talk about what the service sector is. The service sector is one of 3 sectors of our economy. The first sector is raw material production, right? You know, it's called primary products. The second is manufactured goods, where you get your value added. Remember, this is your big money maker as far as actual production of goods. And the third sector is services. So instead of producing tangible products, this sector offers services, repairs, maintenance, training, consultation, expertise, sales. You know, basically it's any job in which you do not make a physical or cyber product. All right. All right. So some examples include government, healthcare, insurance, waste disposal, education, banking, financial services, legal services, consulting, mass media, hospitality, you know, restaurants, hotels, casinos, entertainment, live shows or uh, music or movies or whatever. Uh, games, tourism, transportation, recreation, retail sales, any sales, law enforcement. Those are all services. Very important part of our economy now, right? And last thing I say is the decline of manufacturing led to the post-industrial hourglass job market. We'll talk about this in a second. All right, so three sectors of the economy shown here. They divide up in agriculture, industry, and services, right? Going back to 1840, and this goes up to 2010, all right? I imagine the trend is continuing somewhat. All right. And you see that way back in 1840, the main sector of our economy was agriculture. About 70% of our economy was just making food, right? And that has gone a steady decline, right? Now, service sector's always been rising, and you see that manufacturing rose with a decline here in 1920s, right? Manufacturing fell off, right? Then you had the Great Depression here. Then you had World War II, right? Attempted transition to stage 6, and then manufacturing fell off, right? So that World War II, the stage 6 really did pan out. But now, if manufacturing is falling down, and if agriculture continues to fall, well, people got to find jobs, and they found jobs in the service sector. So, service sector, when manufacturing started to fall, you see there's a jump in the service sector. Service sector is going up gently, but then it increases in slope, right? And the rise here pretty much mirrors the fall here, as you can see. Right? All right. So, yeah, 1950 was a point where there was a transition to increased service sector, right? And by 2010 or so, service sector comprised almost 80% of our economy. Right? This is the lion's share of our economy. 4/5 of our economy is here. It used to be agriculture. Now agriculture is way down here. All right. So the next thing I want to show you is how the decline of manufacturing, right, sector is called the post-industrial economy. Industrial meaning manufacture with machines, actual goods, physical products. One effect of which was the development of the hourglass job market. And the rest of my lecture, I want to focus on this. Okay, so here's an hourglass. It used to be the economy looked more like a barrel, fat in the middle, right? Now it's skinny in the middle. All right, and how it's patterned is there's high-paying jobs up here, low-paying jobs down here, middle-paying jobs right in the middle. Okay. So the high-paying jobs are high-skilled roles, managers, professionals. All right. All right, and then you have higher middle skill jobs, which are professionals and technicians. So these can be like high skilled people in finance, in medicine, doctors, lawyers, engineers, highly skilled engineers. These jobs are professionals, but maybe less skilled. Maybe they have associate degrees in some sort of manufacturing or something like that. Maybe they're a computer systems operator for robotic, whatever, manufacturing, or the repair for it, something like that. They're fairly skilled, but not highly skilled. Uh, Down here, you have low skilled jobs. Down here, you have really low paying jobs. I mean, rock bottom. Um, okay. Now, one of the factors leading to the decline in the middle here is technology, especially automation of manufacturing, like robotics, right? However, robotics creates, jobs up here and up here. So people to operate these robots, people to design these robots up here, right? And another factor is globalization. And globalization is the integration of markets throughout the world, right? Supply chains extending around the world. And this results in exportation of jobs going overseas to markets where there is cheaper labor, right? And that causes a loss of these middle manufacturing jobs, the blue collar jobs, operating machines, right? Clerical jobs in the United States. Okay. For example, when you call your credit card company, right, someone's going to answer, and they're probably going to have a foreign accent, like they're from India or something like that, right? A lot of those jobs are outsourced overseas. All right. Okay. Now I say here, artificial intelligence is going to have a factor. I think it's going to have a big impact here and here. Up here, it's not going to take away jobs as much as artificial intelligence is going to be a facilitator to increase productivity of people with high skills up here. But I believe artificial intelligence can take away from these type of jobs. It can be done by computers, right? All right. So, because you got a loss of jobs here, and because of the threat of artificial intelligence to the loss of jobs, that just increases the importance of education to fill higher paying jobs because these are being lost. You want to get them educated so they can fill these jobs. Also, I mean, just fundamentally, as you increase skill education, you increase skill level. As you increase skill level, you increase value creation, which is increased productivity, which is increased wealth generation, which means increased economic growth for our nation. And from a practical standpoint, you're making available highly skilled workers in which there's a shortage currently. Companies are experiencing a shortage of highly skilled workers they need, right? And I say here, this is one of the reasons why the GI Bill was so smart. Because the GI Bill sent people to college, right? Increase their skill levels, increase their productivity levels, right? Their ability to increase wealth generation for our nation. All right. Now, I add down here that skill level is an important factor in immigration policy, right? I fully believe that we should target, recruiting of immigrants with high skill levels, right? Because they're going to boost our economy. And they boost our economy, it's going to make more wealth for everyone else, which makes more jobs available for other people. Now, that's not to say that we should neglect low-skilled labor people. That's going to be based upon labor demand. Like, for example, migrant farm workers, all right? You got to go with what farmers need. You got to pay attention to their needs, right? You don't just have a blanket policy, no Mexicans, right? Because they're all criminals, which is not proven, right? I mean, it's just ridiculous, baseless crap. That's fear monger crap, right? You got to go with what farmers need. And that's going to help keep down inflation. That's going to help food prices. Keeping down inflation is going to help economic growth. Now, another final problem with this hourglass job market is there's a growing disparity in wealth. You know, the high-paid people, very little middle-paid people, and then you get low-paid people. So one of the concerns of economists, even federal chair, federal Reserve Bank members, is this growing disparity in wealth, which can weaken the spending power of the masses, which could be a drag on the economy. Not enough D1, all right? I mean, the ultimate case of that is a slave labor economy, right? Which drove down D1, which drove down spending power, right? You can't sustain an economy if people don't have money to spend, right? Now, I'm not saying there should be government mandated wages, right? You know, I think that's always risky when a government steps in and sets wages, whether it's wage freezes or whether it's, increased, whatever wage, right? I mean, too often this backfires in ways they don't expect, right? Market forces are going to come back and kick them in the ass, right? It's usually best to let the market determine these things. I'm saying usually. Okay. All right. Okay, so that is the seventh stage of the Industrial Revolution, which is the rise of the service sector, right here. So that's our economy, 80% service sector. Lion's share of our economy now. And it's not going away. Probably just going to get bigger. Right. All right. So that's that.